How you doing, guys? Hi, Jimmy. Hi, Dominic. Great to see you guys. Um, Today, what I want to talk about, I think for all of us, is the video that I did that came out. What's today? Saturday. Yeah, that came out on Friday. Was one that was very, very popular, and people kept saying, "Man, do more and more stuff on these low-priced watches." And I, I think the important thing isn't so much that they're low priced. I mean, that is important, but to find the quality. And so I thought, well, what we could do today is talk about the quality in these high priced watches that we cannot afford. And let's see if we can find them in ones that we can afford. So I thought that would be a fun thing to discuss because um, I don't think any of us is like super rich, except maybe Dominic. I think Dominic's super rich, but the rest of us, we've got to get by, buy buy watches when our wives aren't looking, things like that. Uh, Anyhow, the that I thought would be a fun thing to talk about. I've got one watch here that I just finally got and regot on the basis of that. Hi, Andrew. How you doing? Oh, Canada Watch Monkey, good to see you. Lee, good. Yeah, tornadoes in January. Who's got tornadoes in January? Maybe Oklahoma's got a few. Hey, thanks, Dominic. I'm sort of a little up today because we've had this snow. And some time ago, we got a new driveway, and so we have this great big old driveway with a U-shaped thing, and then another. We got lots of driveway, so it's quite expensive to put it in the driveway. And the snowplow guys come in and they tear up the driveway, and so we were told by the people who put it in the driveway, give it a few years to settle, and so. Um, my wife said, "Well, no more snowplow." And so, and you can't go shovel snow. Well, what are we going to do? So finally, it melded, and we're going to get a snowplow. Okay. So I'm very happy about that. I have to go slipping and sliding through this stuff. For those of you who live in places that don't have to deal with that all the time. Hi, Brian. Good morning. Hey, killer. I bought a cream dial and ordain as a substitute for a few enamel dial watches I couldn't afford at the time. I truly love it in my collection for keep. You know, that's another thing that I think is worth noting. Anne Ordain does these. I think originally they just did the dials, and you could. The reason I knew about that is that I was looking for ways or sources for creating our own watches. And I thought, well, Anne Ordain might be a good place. And then they started making their own watches. Everyone I know who have had a dial by Anne Ordain has been very happy with it. So if you're into enamel dials, I they are definitely a good spot to check out. Here on the west coast of Canada, we haven't had any snow this winter. I tell you, it's really funny. This crazy weather that we've been having. We're going through whether people, the political correct crowd, I guess, the right wing characters who don't believe in it. That's crazy. We do have climate change, and the putting up with it for the last few years, southern New England, where we are, has had very little snow, not very much snow at all. And boy, this year though we haven't had what we used to get. We had to get there was so much snow on top of the roof that the roofs were collapsing. So we don't have that. We don't have that. And that's sort of for us the upside of climate change, global warming. I guess it's politically incorrect to say global warming, but that's what it is. So I'm very happy that our global warming came back for now and melted all the snow in our driveway. Um, ah, anyway, okay, let's see what's going on. Wearing my inexpensive cheap watches, Citizen Pro Diver. Citizen and some of these other ones, they make good tool watches, and you wear them and everything, and, Lee, you can take them to bar fights and stuff, and, you come out and even though you come in second, still the watch comes out in good shape. Hi, William Rizzo. Ah, the Villages, Florida. Yeah, you guys are when I was in, Gainesville several years ago, one day we had some snow coming down and people were running around and, oh boy, snow. Uh, it's very pretty, I'll put it that way. I don't like driving in it. Hi, Jimmy. I thought it excellent that Omega's large brand introduced coaxial escapement from George Daniels, one of the masters. Jimmy, I agree that they had Daniels was going around trying to get people to adopt their coaxial escapement, and the only one I think is able to get to do it was Omega. Of course, Roger Smith uses coaxial. His watches are very expensive. That might be one of the kinds of things I think that would be very important to talk about what we're talking about today. Very high price watches. Uh, I think Roger Smith, all of his watches certainly satisfy the criteria for high price. Uh, However, the one of the major features that makes his watches so interesting is the coaxial escapement. Now, he did a modification on the coaxial escapement that was a little different than the one that George Daniels did, but still the same concept. There was just one little thing that he changed on it. Um, so that's one thing about Omegas that I just think is great, is that here you have a coaxial escapement. I think, of course, the Swatch has got to stick that silicon in there, but other than that, it's exactly what I think we ought to, take a look at today. Um, Let me start off with my Saga. This is this is my Boucheron Ronde, Ronde. Boucheron is one of the top jewelry makers in Paris, along with Chaumet, Chanel, and some of these other ones that Van Cleef and Arpels. Super good jewelry makers. Everything but on our watch, except the movement, is jewelry of some sort. And so they make great jewelry. And I didn't have a Boucheron, so I started reading about them. And so one of the things that you do have is that you get a top-notch case and dial and so forth, but the movement depended on all kinds of things. So then I found out, well, they have a Girard-Perregaux 4000, which I'm getting different kinds of stories about. On the one hand, they were done exclusively for Boucheron by Girard-Perregaux. On the other hand, they are also used in the Laredo, which is their top of the line, Girard-Perregaux's top of the line watch. I'm not sure I'll have to go back and do some more work on it. Anyway, when I first got this watch, I got it I got it at the worst possible time. Got it from China when the tariffs were 39%, and they did it not on where you bought it from, but the origin. And since it had a Swiss origin, they nailed me for 39% on that. When I got it, it kept really good time, and then it stopped. And so I had a hard time getting it started again. It would go like a few bit and then it would stop. So I sent it in to have it repaired. Almost $1,000 for the repair work. Okay. Um, and so then they sent it back and it would run perfectly for about 10 minutes and then stop. So I had to send it back again. Okay. this, this is a long story. So then the strap that came with it was about as nothing a strap as you could find. It was a leather strap. It was gray. The only thing good about the strap was the fact that it had a Boucheron buckle on it, so I could get a strap. So what I did, I ordered a strap because this has the lug is 18 millimeters, and all of my extra straps are 20 millimeters. So I had to get an 18 millimeter strap. So one of my two favorite strap places, one is Jean Rousseau, Paris, and the other one is ABP Concept Paris. So I I always would wait for a sale or some special deal they had with the ones from the ABP Concept. So I ordered it. Well, this is when all of this stupid tariff stuff was going on, and God knows what it was. And so it looked like I got a thing from ABP Concept saying, "Oh, your strap is on the way." I thought, "Oh, goody." So it didn't come. It never showed up. I thought, "Oh my God, there's some kind of something happened." And it was a gator strap, and I know that Sites doesn't like gators, and I thought, but ABP Concept before had been fine. Okay, so the heck with it. So I thought, well, I'll find an American uh, strap maker. So I found one called Henley, I think, where Headley or Henley, something like that, and they had gator straps. It was croc straps. So I ordered one of those, and they said, "Well, it doesn't. We're out. You're gonna have to wait." So I waited, and it came, and this is the strap that I got. It's a instead of gator, it's crocodile, a camion or something like that. Okay, so that came. I had everything now but the watch. So then finally, the watch went. But right after I got the strap, the one from ABP Concept Paris showed up. So now I have two straps and no watch. So finally, now I have all of them together. I gotta tell you, this thing keep perfect time now, and it's like it cost once I added everything up and stuff. It was like around 3K, something like that. Still though, it was like it's just been a delight. And the upside of it was that I knew about Girard-Perregaux as a excellent movement maker, or one of them. Um, my first Vestron Constantin had a Girard-Perregaux movement in it, so this is okay, that's good. But then I found out all kinds of things. The the watch that had the Girard-Perregaux 4000 movement, they have all of these different watches. This was called the Ronde. The Rondes had them. They had another one called the E Pure. The E Pure in gold had the Girard-Perregaux. The same watch in steel had an ETA movement. And then there were a lot of quartzes too. All right. So it was I was able to get a watch by a tip-top jewelry maker, namely Boucheron, with a top movement maker in Girard-Perregaux. So and for a price, even after spending a 39% tariff, even after the having to have it repaired, everything else, it was still a bargain watch. So that's sort of one lesson. This is another one from the same kind of setup. This is Fabergé. Fabergé is another one of those brands that is a top jewelry maker, and but I also knew that Fabergé had put in an Agengráf movement in their chronograph, and so finding out about, well, what movement were they using? And, well, it was a not a Girard-Perregaux, but a Frederick Piguet movement, and nobody wanted this watch, and it was like they dropped the price down next to nothing, and so that was when I got it. So it's not a matter of you have to, low price means cheap watch. Low price is low price. All right. And so that's what I wanted to talk about today. I know I sort of went around the block on that one. I've got on my Moritz Grossmann, which is absolutely love the horology of the book of this watch. They are too expensive for most of us, so including me, I found a deal and got it right away about a year or so ago. Okay, so let's see. Okay. Okay, you guys are talking about yeah, 80 degrees. Well, I hope your ice cream melts. How's that? You gonna tell me about your weather. Uh, okay. Brian, okay. This is I don't know. I found value in the best to find the best in the affordable, but I'm really enjoying my Egg-Locker flying tourbillon. That's another great example. Tourbillons, I'm not into tourbillons except acknowledging their really excellent horology to make a tourbillon. In fact, I think I even mentioned that the company Ace Locker is the name of it. Um, Age Locker, probably something that I'm mispronouncing. But yeah, they have a number of really good buys. I mean, if it's something, the thing with tourbillons is that they'll double the price. You can find, let's say, oh yeah, I know one. The Vacheron Constantin overseas, 24,000, I think. Okay, for this is your plain vanilla one. The same watch with a tourbillon in it is 89,000. So, you know, there you have just what Brian talked about. Here you've got a watch, it's got a tourbillon in it, and tourbillons are just, they're going out of crazy high, but here's a company that makes them available. Okay, what else do you guys have? Hi, Tony. Hadley, that's the name. Thanks, Brian. Hadley is the name of the strap maker. This is if you're in the U.S. and you want a gator strap, I can highly recommend it. I say that in the US so you don't have to deal with sites and other people that, they're protecting us really. Okay. What else do you guys have here? ISA, see all the watches need is 15K USD and lower. Secondhand Parmigiani is the best high horology deal in my opinion. Caesar. I I couldn't agree more. Yeah, Parmigianis they're great. They're underrated, um, but they make great watches. The thing is that there's something even better than a used Parmigiani, and that's one that has been sort of the unworn ones. You get the box, you get everything along with it. I think I don't know if you get the warranty or not. You get what essentially is a brand new watch, shop worn watch, Parmigiani. Yes, they're great. I have three of them, love them all. So that it's one of those things. They're overlooked, but we ought to be grateful. I mean, these guys who say, they want to get a Rolex no matter what, or they want Omega, or whatever else they want that's popular. Uh, I'm glad for them. A lot of people are getting nasty and criticizing them. I don't, because they're paying a lot for because of the popularity in part. We don't have to if we find really excellent horology in a more affordable brand. There's another one I have in mind. I'm not going to say anything about it because I might go get one. Oh, Lee, absolutely. The Roger Dubuis Easy Divers. This is the thing. I was looking at an Easy Diver today, I think. It was $10,000 for an Easy Diver. They not too long ago they weren't as well known. They're one of the few brands that's affordable that has a Geneva seal, and they have excellent movements. They're Roger Dubuis movements, and it's like, yeah, that's a great one. What do you think about the crazy hours complication? I find interesting, although it's useless. Uh Now, the crazy hours, there are different kinds of crazy hours complications, Caesar. There's what was it called? Those the first ones that Audemars Piguet had. They're called the star thing, and then and turn around and all the numbers go. I don't know why I've always been attracted to those. Fortunately, they're out of the ones I like are out of my price range. Um, H. Moser has one. And they would be fun to have, I guess. I've got enough problems with, when you get your when it's difficult to tell time because you get to see a whole lot of the movement. In this case, I see all of these hands. I don't know who thought it was a good idea. Probably Christine Hutter at Moritz Grossman to say, well, let's have a dial, and for a background, we'll have samples of all of our different hands, and we'll put that as a background, and then we'll sort of make an open face. Jesus Christ, you know, like they were like, well, let's have another schnapps where we're thinking of great ideas. That sort of kind of thing. Love the watch, and the horology behind it is second to none. It's just they're great watches, but they're blasted expensive. Except every now and then you can find a great deal on one that, for probably good reasons, even though you have a very difficult time telling the time. It's a wonderful watch. Okay, what do you think about the crazy hours? Okay, that's it. Overseas moon retrograde date is the best in my view. Oh, yeah. Yes, I love those watches. Have you guys know what Caesar's talking about? I don't know if it's overseas or not, but the retrograde date, I think that's a Vacheron Constantin. I don't know if it's an overseas or not. I thought it was a historique. or one of those. But yeah, those are I do like those watches. Used Moser Pioneer is also a good value. Absolutely, Seba. That's see, it wasn't too long ago that so many of these, both of my H Mosers were ones I got them brand new from. I think one was from Shop Worn, another called Solist. Brand new from that with a box and all of the stuff that comes with it. Another one I got from a guy in Switzerland who had to go to jail. So all of, along with my accountant. So a question to all after the seizing of Venezuelan president and war is at our door. Will watches be more affordable or watches will hit a new high? I don't know, Isa. I I've got very strong opinions about our current president, and I feel apologetic. Really, I don't know how that happened, but there we have it. The guy that they pulled out of office, Manuro or something like that, whatever his name is, he was a bad guy, and the gal that won the election and then won the Nobel Prize for Peace. The obvious thing to her, if you're going to have a sort of a coup d'état, really, is to put her back in office, and then people would say, hey, well, that's not a bad thing, but he's going to steal all the oil. Jesus Christ, who does that? Let's see, Putin and some of the other characters. Okay, enough of that. No more politics, guys. Um, will that affect the price of watches? I don't know. I have no idea. Um, I don't think the guys in the plutocrats or whatever they were in Venezuela, people running the country, were big on watches, as far as I know. The AP is working hours. I referred to Frank Mueller crazy hours, the one that jumps out of order. Some of Frank Mueller's um, dials, there's one that's a very colorful one that's just cool looking. These crazy looking numbers. Out of order, though. I mean, there's gimmicks and there's a design. Uh, to me, that would be more of a gimmick than a design. I mean, a good design. Moser is part of a bundling game, so the prices drop. Seba, I'm not sure what you mean by that. Blank Pond prices crazy low right now. Lehman ultra thin with yeah, I've noticed that. Ed, yeah, yeah, that's right. Blank Ponds, I've seen their prices really drop, and I don't know what's going on. It might be their older ones, and if that's the case, that's good news because on the older blank ponds, they had the Frederick Piguet movements. The newer ones, they stuck in the silicon, and you know, I don't want to rant about that. Yeah, yeah, you got two Parmigiani watches and some cheese. Okay. Tony, let's see. I have vintage Tag Longines and Omega. Um, you know, the one Omega that I really really like, I think it's called the 318, the one with the movement, one of the early movements that I really like. Um, For other watchmakers, yeah, I got a lot of ones. I think some of the ones we've mentioned already, you find them in on the it used to be that you could buy a brand new Parmigiani, and I'm talking within the last 10 years. You could buy a brand new Parmigiani for under $5,000. Same thing with H. Moser. Um, well, maybe not under 5, but well under 10. And the thing about it is that that's all changed now, but if that would be Parmigiani, H. Moser. Some of the some of these watches by fashion brands. There's a difference between a fashion watch. Fashion watch has blueberry on it and has a quartz movement in it. By a fashion brand, these are companies like Chanel who bought into both Romain Gautier and FP Journe, as well as taking over. Oh God, I keep forgetting any of their watches. Also, they have a piece of MB&F. So you have, and then companies like Fabergé who also have some Agenor chronographs, and they have a incredible dual time one, also with a Agenor movement base to it. So, but if you find it on a lower basis, also too one that's sort of interesting is the Chanel, I think it's J12. The newer J12 have a movement by Kinesi, but that movement is really a Tudor movement, and a Tudor movement without the silicon because they weren't going to let them have the silicon. It was like, good, good. Okay, Tony, let's see. Should I send to the respective manufacturers, watchmakers, any suggestions for other watchmakers? Caesar says, no, watches you can service in a good shop. Best advantage. The big thing about service is getting the parts. Some watch manufacturers will share their parts so that other people can, a watchmaker can make them, some won't. Rolex absolutely will not. And so you've got to give it to a certified Rolex service center. And I've known one of the guys who did that, and they're very strict about that. They may have been shifting a little. I'm not sure about Rolex, but I think some of them have been shifting to some of their own shops now. Either that or direct online. I'm not sure where Rolex is going and how they're treating their ADs or not. Being a Rolex AD is very important because the watches are expensive and popular, and you basically put them on a shelf and take in the money, and you have it made. I've heard that from this one watch guy who owns this top uh, watch shop on Park Avenue in New York. And even though I don't know if he carries Rolexes or not, but he's got every of these other great brands. But he said economically, that thing is hard to beat. Um, Lee, I think those are the women's versions. That's one of the things you got to watch out for in all of these things. Sometimes the women's versions are much cheaper because they're not as popular. And they usually have a little more bling to them that some guys like, some don't. And there's a certain Metropolitan, it's a smaller size, so you got to watch out for that. Anyway, guys, okay, let me take one last one. This is from Brian. In the last 10 years, you're able to get a PF, yeah, for under 5K and 10K. I was able to get my, Metrograph under 5 and, my Hebdomadari under 10, yeah. Um, okay, wow, from Watch Outlet, yeah, Saba, those are just they're great. Watch Outlet's one of the best places. Look, guys, I gotta run. My time is up. Nobody gave me nobody gave me the hook, and then whoop, out I go. Anyway, thanks you guys for coming this morning. Uh, well, this afternoon at 4 o'clock New York time, let's take a look at some I wanna take a look at some functions and say, "Okay, here's a watch that goes with that function." It's not an expensive one. We'll take a look at some of those things. Anyway, take care. Have for those of us who are watching the snow melt, great. For those of you who live in climes where you melt, ta stay in the shade. Take care, everybody.